Hello everyone, maisth here. Welcome back to the Human Character tutorial series. In this part we'll be seeing how to model a male face for the body that we've created, as well as understanding how to do it. As always, if you don't have the neutral body up until this point, don't worry, you can either watch the tutorial for those specific parts, or you can download the blend file that has all the body modeled up until this point. I'll leave those two things in the description. Alright, let's get into it then. Before we start making the face, I want to talk about one important aspect about face modeling, and that is the topology. I've covered the topology in a few cases in past videos, but for this one, it's quite important to understand because the face can be done in multiple different ways. And some of these ways of modeling benefit different types of styles. There's a great website that shows us the multiple ways of modeling a face. It's this one we're seeing right now. It's called Anime CG Lab, and it's the one I'm going to be referencing for this section of the video. If you're interested in learning more about face topology, I'll leave the site's link on the description. But basically the site tells us there's 4 common ways of modeling a face, or at least making the topology for the face. There's the silhouette type, which focuses on the silhouette of the face and making sure it has a very precise look from all angles. There's the real type, which is inspired by how real-life faces are deformed. It follows the same structure of the muscles a real face would have. This is one of the most used topologies in 3D. There's the deformed type, which is quite similar to the silhouette type, except it uses more polygons and it's not very anime-like. And finally, the symbol type, which basically makes parts like the eyes or mouth into different objects that will not affect the face itself, kinda like 2D textures that you can modify. Now, you can call these whatever you want. This is how the website calls the topologies. However, we will be focusing on 2 types of topologies that in my opinion will serve us the most in learning how to make a face. The ones we'll be focusing on in the videos will be the real-life face topology and the deform/silhouette type. The reason is because the real-life type is the most commonly used topology in the 3D industry. It is also the most useful when it comes to rigging a face, as it will be deformed just like a real-life face would. And lastly, as to why we're choosing the deform/silhouette type, is because in my opinion it is the easiest of the bunch to learn for someone who has not modeled a face before. It can also be deformed quite nicely in rigging. From now on, I'll be calling this face topology the silhouette type. Because even though these are 2 different types of topologies, they are quite similar in retrospect. Now for this occasion, we're going to be focusing on the silhouette type topology first, as I think this will pave the ground nicely for you to learn how to model a face, and then later, once we make the female face, we'll use the real-life face topology. So with all that said, let's get on to modeling our face. To make the face, I like to start out with 2 vertices. So in this case, I'm gonna create a plane. Put this to where the reference is. I'm also gonna create a vertical edge loop so I can mirror this. And delete these edges so I only have the ones on the lower part of the plane. Now we can start blocking. This type of method I use guarantees that the silhouette will be almost the same as the reference. So we're going to be extruding this vertex. I like to give 1 vertex to this part of the jaw, then 3 vertices to the eyes, and 1 in the forehead area. Alright, there's a rough blocking of our silhouette. Now we're going to go into the side view. Modify the vertices that we've added to align with the reference on this view as well. Okay, with that done, we're gonna grab this vertex and extrude until we get to the start of the nose. Then extrude again to the tip of the nose. Finally, to where the eyes are. Once again, 3 vertices here and 1 in the forehead. next order of business is to start adding the faces. So I'm gonna select this vertex right here and join it with this one on the other side of the face. Then I'm gonna select the edge, start pressing F to add faces in between the vertices that we've added. I'm gonna leave it here because I want to focus on the upper part of the face first. Okay, so I'm gonna add a vertical edge loop. I'm gonna run it through the edge until I get close to the middle part of the face. Then I'm gonna move it on the y-axis. This part will represent the nose area. Now I'm gonna add 3 more edge loops here. We're gonna apply them. This part will represent the eyes. So I'm gonna delete these 4 faces here. Now I'm gonna modify the vertices. We're gonna first shape the outside area of the eye. So put this around here. Alright, I'm gonna extrude. Put this for the interior shape of the eye. We gotta make sure the 8 vertices are equally spaced out, so between each other. Now we're gonna add a sphere, and this will be used for the eyes. I'm gonna leave it up here in the middle and enter into edit mode so I can move to this eye socket. I'm gonna mirror it, and there we go. All we need to do now is adjust the eye vertices so it fits the sphere. Now that we have this here, I'm gonna extrude again. Move this on the y-axis, but to the inside of the head. This will be the cover, the skin of this part of the eye. Okay, so now our eyes are a tad better. We still need to modify some of the face a bit, but first we're gonna focus on the nose. For this occasion, the nose is gonna be pretty simple. We're not gonna have a complex real-life nose with all these parts. Instead, we're gonna focus on having a simple nose and also the 2 holes that go in it. So, to make the nose, first we're gonna add an edge loop here, and we're gonna push this edge loop on the y-axis around here, just to give it the shape of the nose. Also this vertices. Then we're gonna select this vertex and join it with this other one. And there we go, we have the part of the nose. I'm gonna add another edge loop here. And don't worry, the amount of edge loops that we have here are gonna be fixed later. So I'm gonna keep modifying the shape of the face. And now I'm gonna delete these edge right here. Now we're gonna focus on the mouth. I'm gonna select all these edges here, extrude, scale it until it looks like this. Now all we have to do is modify these vertices that we have here and put them around the shape of the mouth. So do it exactly like I'm doing it here. Now I'm actually gonna delete this edge loop. Instead of being on the middle part of the nose, it's actually gonna come around this area. And that's gonna give us a little advantage when modifying the tip of the nose. It also reduces the amount of edges that we have here. I'm gonna add another edge loop around this lower part of the mouth and just modify the general shape of this part so it actually looks better and resembles more of the mouth. So what we're doing right here is just modifying the positions of the vertices to align to the line that we have in the mouth of this drawing. Now I'm gonna actually modify this edge loop that we have added here. So as you can see, I'm gonna try to put it around the tip of the nose to give it that little detail around there. So it's actually not very straight. I'm gonna use the scale 0 to make this part of the mouth straight, just like this. Human mouth has a little arc shape. It's not perfectly straight, so try to put it around like this so it actually looks even better. Now we're gonna add another edge loop, but this time to this part of the mouth. This part is gonna be used for the lips, so try to give it the general shape of the lips. And then I'm gonna move it outside of the mouth, so to give it a little bit more space and give it that shape of lips. It's up to you whether you want to have some big lips or just smaller lips. And now I'm gonna be modifying the shape of the face around this part of the mouth, maybe using proportional editing and a little bit of the smooth tool to give it a more smooth look. I'm gonna add an edge loop here around this part to have the area shape of the eyebrows a little bit more outside looking. Now I'm gonna smooth this part as well, add another edge loop around here. Now I'm gonna dissolve this edge here. I'm gonna use the knife tool to connect it on the middle. Dissolve that one and connect this vertex with this other vertices. Now we have this part of the face with a more clean topology. So it's gonna move this edges a bit so it's a little bit more proportional. Now I'm gonna add the subdivision modifier. And for this case, we're gonna actually be using the subdivision modifier because I want to make a point in the next video about how we can use the subdivision and actually connect it with the body that we didn't use a subdivision modifier. So right now I'm just modifying parts of the face, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Now that the face is a little bit better, I'm gonna extrude with these specific edges selected. I'm gonna extrude and I'm gonna be making the shape of the head. So I'm gonna be extruding some more until I have a more circle-like shape around the head. So something like this. Now I'm gonna modify the shape a bit. It's not that perfect. I'm actually gonna add another edge loop here so we can have enough edges to support this area so it's a little bit more smooth and circular instead of squaring. Now it is a little bit big. I'm gonna use proportional editing to modify the general shape of the face, modify some bits. And also this part of the chin. Now I'm gonna delete those two faces because now I'm gonna make the jaw. There's multiple ways of making the jaw, but in this case I'm gonna be selecting this edge from the chin. I'm gonna be extruding it, first correcting the rotations also, and then I'm gonna be extruding until we get to the point of the jaw that we deleted, to the face of the jaw that we deleted. In this case we extrude until we get to this vertex, move it here, select that vertex and merge it with the other one here, and select this other one and join it with this other vertex so that we can make a face. And there's the topology right there. Now I'm gonna be moving these vertices so to align them with the face, and there it is. Now we still have this missing chunk of face right here. So I'm gonna select these vertices and start joining them with F. So select this one with this other one. And you can see here that I'm gonna need another edge loop. So I'm gonna add an edge loop here, join the missing face vertex with this one. And there it is. I'm gonna use the smooth tool to make this a little bit more smooth. I'm also gonna move this part of the neck so it's a bit more clean. And for this part of the chin, just extrude this vertex right here to the middle and then join it with this other vertex. And there it is. And there's the jaw of this part. We will modify the topology in this part later. For now, it's okay to leave it like this. Now we're gonna be making the neck. Grab all these edges that we have around here, extrude them, and I'm actually gonna modify it a bit so it's a little bit more circular. So right click, loop tools, and then circle. And start extruding some more until we have the neck. So once again, right click, loop tools, and circle. So it's a little bit more circular. I'm gonna be smoothing out this area. So using proportional editing. The job is to make sure this looks more like a neck. So don't be afraid to use the smooth tool and also add some more edge loops if you need them. We're gonna be adding more edge loops here. So this part of the neck needs to be more smooth. It's a little bit too straight right now, and I don't want that. There should be like a small arc going from the chin to the neck, something like this. Now remember, we're gonna be using the subdivision modifier, so we don't need to use too much edge loops to detail this part, as that part will be resolved with the subdivision. Just make sure that we have enough. Now we're gonna focus on making the ears. So we're gonna delete these 8 faces. I'm gonna disable subdivision mode. As you can see, we have 12 vertices, which will be enough to make the ear. I'm gonna extrude. Now I'm gonna move it out on the X-axis and use a bit of the smooth vertices. Now I'm actually gonna move the reference to see the shape of the ear a little bit better. And I'm gonna extrude again, move it outside on the X-axis. This new extrusion that we did, I'm gonna start modifying the vertices to take on the general shape of the ear that we have here. So just like this. I'm gonna use a scale to 0 on the X-axis. Rotate it a bit so it takes on the shape of the reference. And there it is. Now I'm gonna extrude again. This part I'm gonna put it on the inside a bit. And with the edges selected, go to Face, Grid Fill, and fill it up. Gonna change the offset, and there it is. So now the ear is created. All we have to do is detail it. So I'm gonna add some edge loops and start modifying the general shape of the ear. Remember to use the smooth tool. I'm actually gonna add another edge loop around here and start modifying a little bit. So this part is just adding some edge loops using the smooth tool and just making it more smooth. This is the most simple way to make an ear. It's not gonna have the most complex parts of the insides of the ear. And just modify these edges, put them more on the inside so it actually looks like an ear. gonna add another edge loop. Now I'm gonna select this edge loop right here of the outside of the ear, move it out so it actually has a little bit more volume. Add another edge loop, put it outside, and there it is. It has more of a volume and it doesn't look too thin. I'm gonna actually remove this edge loop right here because it's not needed. Remember to use the smooth vertices, smooth tool, and proportional editing if you need to. Remember, after the grid fill that we did, you can add edge loops as you want, but make sure they are the necessary ones because we're gonna be using the subdivision modifier. So this part is gonna look even more smooth. But we still want to make sure that this looks as smooth as possible in this way. I'm adding more of a detail here. Now we gotta make sure that this down part of the ear looks like it's connected to the face. I'm gonna smooth it out. Use the smooth vertices and modify it. In my opinion, making the ear is, in this case, probably the easiest thing to do, but that's also the most time consuming because making the ear look good is a little bit difficult at first. Now I'm gonna use proportional editing to make the shape of the ear look like the one in the reference so we don't lose too much of that. I'm gonna move it onto the inside of the face a bit. It's more of a time lapse at this point, just making sure that this looks as good as possible. Now that that's done, we're gonna actually be closing down this part of the head that we have right here. But first, I'm gonna move the reference back to its original position. Gonna select these edges, this part of the head, extrude, pull them up. And also this edge loop, I'm gonna move it up a little bit, just preparing it before we use the grid fill. So now I'm gonna go to face, grid fill, and I'm gonna modify the values a little bit until we arrive to this one. Okay, that one looks pretty good. Now that we have closed this little gap on the head, all we have to do is move it up. So I'm gonna go into proportional editing, use the sphere value instead of the smooth one, and select these edges and move them up. Now it's not gonna be perfect, but we can work with this. Now I'm gonna delete this side of the face and add the mirror modifier once again. I'm gonna be modifying the vertices a little bit. Select all this part, smooth vertices. Don't forget to apply the clipping on the mirror modifier. And there it is, our bald head. Now all we have to do is keep modifying with proportional editing, the smooth tool, making it look more smooth, more circular in a way. Now with the gap closed, all we have to do in this phase is to smooth it out, fix some details that we have, and just generally make the face look a lot more better than it is right now. So this part is gonna be a little bit more of a time lapse. I'm gonna be modifying the face in general, adding some things, but I'm still gonna be commenting in important bits when it comes to it. Just remember to use the tools that you have learned along all these parts. The proportional editing, the smooth vertices, the smooth tool. Make sure to use them all to your advantage in making your face look even better. Gonna be modifying the ear a bit since it doesn't have the shape of the ear I want. And also the eyes. I've noticed that the eyes were a little bit crazy looking, so make sure to actually lower them a bit. Since we're using the subdivision modifier, we're actually going to be using a little trick here. There's a handy tool in Blender that you can use in combination with the subdivision modifier, and that is to increase the crease of an edge. Increasing the crease of an edge is similar to adding an edge loop to a corner in subdivision modifier. It makes it less smooth and more rigid. So in this case, I'm going to be selecting these two edges and increasing the crease to 0.5 so it doesn't look too smooth, but it actually looks more solid, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to be doing the same for the mouth. I'm going to be selecting this edge loop and increasing the crease to 0.5. I'm also going to do the same thing for the nose. I'm going to select these edges right here, increase the crease to 0.5, and it actually looks way better now. And it's just what we want to make this male face look more solid in detail. Now we're going to be making the mouth. So I'm going to select these edge loops right here of the mouth and extruding them. I'm going to disable the subdivision modifier and keep extruding until we are here. Now I'm going to be incrementing the size of this part so we can allow for the teeth and tongue to take place in here. And I'm going to close this gap. So I'm going to join this vertex with the other one and press F to close this gap automatically. I'm going to select these two edges and do the same thing I did for the mouth and the nose. I'm gonna increase the crease to 0.5, and I'm actually gonna scale it down so it looks a little bit more close, doesn't look too open. And I'm also gonna move the eyes a little bit further back so the face looks more natural. I'm gonna decrease the crease here a bit. And also modify this part of the nose so it doesn't look too straight. It has a little bit of an arc. Same thing here. We don't want everything to be too straight. And I'm also modifying the cheeks a bit so the face has a cheekbone, but we don't want it to be too excessive since at the end of the day this is a stylized character. Now I'm gonna modify the ear a bit. Now I'm gonna put the shade smooth on this character, and you can see that we have an error here. Fix this, select all, and press Alt and recalculate outside. Now look at that, it looks quite good. We're gonna fix this issue that we have here. This happened when making the topology for the jaw. The most easy way to fix this is to dissolve this edge right here and create an edge loop around this part of the neck and join it with this one. That way we can solve this issue, and we have a little bit more polygons here that we can use to better detail this part of the neck. So I'm gonna move the edges a little bit, space them out. We don't want them to be too close. Now on this part, it's just a matter of fixing some parts that for me are a little bit wonky, like for example this part of the head, it doesn't have enough meat in it, and just perfecting some places. A tip I can give to anyone is to make sure to see your model from all angles. Always do that, because at some point you're gonna notice that some part is not looking as good as you want it to be, and that's always a problem. So make sure to look at your model from all angles, always, so you can figure out which part to fix. Now this part is gonna be a little bit optional, but you can follow if you want to. I'm actually gonna add an eyebrow. So to add an eyebrow to the face, I'm gonna select these three faces, and I'm gonna Shift D to duplicate them. Gonna move them out a bit, and I'm gonna press P to separate by selection. And we're gonna use these three faces to make the eyebrow, since this already has the subdivision and the mirror modifier, so we don't have to create a plane to make this. So I'm gonna make this a little bit more small, so I'm gonna lower these edges, and I'm gonna put a solidify modifier. I'm gonna put the only rim option and increase the thickness. I'm gonna modify them a bit. So with every edge selected, increase the crease to 0.5. We're gonna be smoothing it ourselves, in this case at least. We want to have full control on how our eyebrow looks, and I think that looks quite good for now. And that looks quite good. And with that, we have arrived at the end of the video, concluding the modeling of the male head. Now, if you want to add some details of your own, maybe modify some pieces of the model, you are free to do so. As always, I will leave two links in the description, one containing the folder where you can download the blend file for this scene, be it the initial one or the final one, and another folder where you can download the other blend files from past videos, in case you need them as a backup or don't have them. Don't forget that if you need help, you can always comment down below in this video or even join up my Discord. Whatever the choice may be, I'll be happy to help you with anything related to the tutorial or 3D in general. So that's about it. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.